Last week, senior Congress leader Salman Khurshid compared Hindutva to ISIS. This comparison was supported by none other than Rahul Gandhi. An orchestrated hate campaign against Hindutva is ongoing, and support from a member of the Gandhi family is indicative of the support it enjoys. Columnist Abhijit Iyer-Mitra on this show last week opined that this was part of a strategy of the Congress party with an eye on Kerala. Today, an RSS worker was killed in Palakkad district of Kerala. According to local residents, the car knocked down Sanjith when he was on his bike and hacked him to death with a machete in front of his wife. He received more than 50 stab wounds and was killed right in front of her. 27-year-old Sanjith has a small child and was a victim of this unprovoked violence because of his Hindutva ideology. The campaign against Hindutva is having deadly consequences, leaving those who follow the ideology and their families vulnerable as they go about their daily lives. It is time to stop this hate against a section of society that is being encouraged by prominent political leadership. Today, we discuss this burning issue with the hope of saving lives. Hello and welcome to what is a very important topic and an unfortunate topic. Some of you may know that I track Kerala very closely, especially the violence against RSS Swayamsevaks. I've been doing it for now nearly 7 years. And yet again, we did see a lull in that violence, but we saw another killing today, which was of Sanjith, who was 27 years old. He was on his way out with his family, his wife and his daughter. They were on a motorcycle. They were hit by a car with 4 persons in it. And Sanjith was knocked off his motorcycle. Then these 4 people exited the car and hacked him to death with a machete. Hacking someone to death with a machete, as awful as it sounds, is quite the norm in Kerala when it comes to this kind of violence. These incidents usually take place in public spaces, on roads, and there is a reason for that. The reason for that is really to instill fear in the mind of onlookers and to create a display of sorts of this kind of violence and the consequences of supporting a certain ideology, that is Hindutva, and that is the RSS workers. I have tracked this very closely and through the years, like I've mentioned already, and I'm particularly disheartened to see this spark up again. Last week, we were discussing the commentary that was coming from Salman Khurshid in his new book, wherein he compared ISIS to RSS and to basically Hindutva. And the RSS is an organization that does follow the Hindutva ideology and has many people who subscribe to it as well. And this kind of hate campaign has unleashed a lot of violence against RSS workers across the country. Kerala, of course, is the most prominent of those, but also in Punjab, in Maharashtra, in UP also in the past, different parts of the country, RSS workers have had to face the brunt of this. In Karnataka, just gruesome and violent crime, which never gets spoken about, never gets highlighted. And it's a continuing tragedy that this happens. And the hate speech which actually fuels this violence is given intellectual platforms, is celebrated, is supported. Last week, I had Abhijit Iyer-Mitra join us on the Hindutva comments that were made by senior Congress leadership, the support it received from Rahul Gandhi. Abhijit, at that point of time, had written a piece on CNN News Network's digital site on how this was part of a strategy, a carefully collaborative strategy of the Congress with an eye on Kerala. As much of an analysis and as conjecture as that seemed last week, today's violence, today's killing of Sanjith in Palakkad district of Kerala just goes to show that there is some truth to this, and this is part of a carefully calibrated strategy. Abhijit, thank you for joining me. Suhel Seth, of course, joins us as well. I'm just going to quickly dive into the conversation, and I'm going to start with Abhijit. Abhijit, last week when you were on the show, you spoke about the Kerala strategy and the eye on Kerala and this equivalence that was being drawn between Hindutva and ISIS. And today we see a murder in broad daylight on the streets of Palakkad district, and a man was killed in front of his wife. I mean, I cannot even go to describe what this must have done to her. Since I follow this very closely, I know that children have witnessed their fathers being killed like this as well. So I guess a wife is in a better position to deal with the trauma of this sort of killing. But Abhijit, at that, what led you to link this with Kerala? And today, when we see a killing in the state, what are your views?
So, I rely on people that I trust locally to keep giving me information on what's happening out there. And I have friends across the aisle in the Congress and the BJP out there, everywhere, pretty much. So I keep getting to hear both sides of the story. This is something that, was kind of...
Can you hear him?
It was the strategy that was implemented sometime in... the last Lok Sabha election in 2019. And the only reason that it had kind of gone under cover for a while, or in hibernation for a while, is because of COVID. It was, a lot of people were linking this to the UP election, saying that, after the UP election, this is going to stop. It is not going to stop. It is going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. It has nothing to do with UP. All right. So Salman Khurshid may have used it in the context of UP, but remember, Salman Khurshid is an electoral nobody in UP. Right. There is no brand recall for brand Salman Khurshid out there. This has always been a very, very Kerala-focused thing. In UP, it is only marginally useful in that somehow the Congress seem to believe that they can grab some of the Samajwadi Party's votes away from them and then use it as kind of electoral leverage to get more seats in a seat-sharing agreement, because he seems to be quite unwilling to share seats with them, given that the Congress brings really nothing to the table. So it's really an attempt to bring something to the table in UP. In Kerala, though, they want this to get worse and worse and worse. This isn't the first you're going to be seeing of it. This killing of party workers, you remember what was happening prior to the 2019 elections. They were being killed off left, right, and center. And I remember you were telling me that, Amit Shah was taking and the RSS were taking great precautions to protect these people and all of that. यार एक बंदा होम मिनिस्टर है जो ना ही तो शाहीन बाग राइट को कंट्रोल कर सकता है, ना ही तो फार्मर राइट को कंट्रोल कर सकता है. उसकी औकात ही क्या है कि वो खुद अपने पार्टी वर्कर्स को बचाएगा. बंगाल में तो किसी को बचा नहीं पाया था. So this is going to get a lot worse. And my real worry out here is the BJP may be concerned. The RSS is always concerned. The problem is they really can't do anything much because these are games being played well outside their comfort zone in a state that they don't really get.
Suhel, this you've grown up in Bengal during the time of the communists.
Worse and worse and worse.
I'm sorry, there's some back echo. Oh yeah, Suhel,
this girl is saying.
No, I don't have it on.
Advaita, do you know what she's asking me?
Yes, can you hear me, Suhel? I think he's having some audio issues.
Abhijit, can you hear her?
We can hear you fine. Abhijit can hear me. Suhel, can you hear us? I think Suhel is having some audio issue. Because Abhijit
can I be heard?
I
because I don't know. I can't hear either of you. This Advaita keeps experimenting with this goddamn technology.
We can
StreamYard by foot.
We can all hear you. We can hear you and we can hear each other. You can not hear us. Issues from your end.
We can hear you, Suhel. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't hear Advaita.
How strange. Okay, Abhijit, then ask. I know. Ask.
So what is Advaita asking me? I can't understand. She has to unmute her speakers. Those are causing the issue.
No, her
No.
speakers are unmuted. Tell me what's your question, Advaita?
Okay, Vijit, my question to Suhel is that he grew up in the Kolkata of the communist era of the Congress violence between the two. Uh, what similarity is he seeing between
You know, I
this?
have to I have to say, taking off from what you said, Abhijit. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Her question was related. It's that you grew up, Suhail, in under communist violence in Calcutta. What are the similarities you're seeing? What are the linkages, parallels, etc., that you might be seeing?
Well, let me say this, that I'm deeply disheartened and disappointed with what is happening in Kerala and in Bengal. The communists were always messed up in the head, but they weren't rampant roadside thug murderers of the kind that they have become today. Calcutta never experienced this. It, of course, had a lot of electoral violence. People resorted to a lot of killings. But what we saw post the Bengal elections and what we are seeing almost with alarming regularity in Kerala is really distressing. It tells you about a state that is either. So here's the view. Many people in those days used to write about the fact that given the lack of employment and given the need for control, a lot of the times people would resort to such debased levels of violence. You know, when you do what we are seeing in Kerala and what we're seeing in Bengal, it is unbelievable that this is being allowed to happen in broad daylight, or even at night, if it ever did. And the state is completely impotent and wimpish and can't do a thing about it. I'll have to log off because
Suhail, I can't hear you. You're breaking up.
Yes, he needs to reconnect. He's the one actually having issues today, but he's blamed it on me as usual. But Abhijit, coming back to you, is that what is the payoff for the Congress to make these kind of correlations and continue with this kind of negative uh, campaigning, which really is causing people to lose their lives. Sohail is back with us. Sohail, can you hear us now?
Advaita, I'm a great believer. I'm a great believer. Don't mix elections with this nonsense. This is nothing but reprehensible murder. The moment you give it a political color, you're giving them more respect than they deserve. These are nothing but petty or worse still reprehensible murderers who need to be hung. They need to go to the gallows. It's not whether it's being done to the RSS or the any Islamic party or Christian party or Hindu party. The fact that this is being allowed to happen, the fact that neither the Home Minister nor Narendra Modi condoned what happened post Bengal with alacrity. They allowed the matter to drift. So you're sending out three signals. One is you're weak and impotent. Number two, you couldn't be bothered if your cadres are being hacked to death. Number three, strongman and Sardar Patel and what does it say? It says sweet bugger all. It shows you as a weak state. And what is worse, it allows people to believe that they can be brazen enough. It allows people to believe that they can do it to the next person. My worry, Advaita, is that. My worry is that you're creating a state where people can do what they want and there will be no punishment. There will be no recourse to swift justice. Where are the judges in this? Why are they not taking so moto action? Why are they not
Absolutely.
talking about issues such as this? A judge got run over, poor chap, as unfortunate as it was. There was a huge outcry amongst the judicial system. Why is there no outcry on this? Every life matters. Every life. And please remember, as long as every life matters, every Indian who plays around with life, who murders people, should be held accountable with the severest form of law. There is no partial pregnancy. There can be no recourse to kindness in this matter. And Advaita, I'm repeatedly telling you the more you make it into an RSS or a
Voice is his voice is his voice is blanking out. I think Suhail's having a lot of trouble with his audio today. Yeah. No, we can't unfortunately
Can't
hear
hear
you.
you.
Suhail. Can't hear you. You've got a very
You're
bad connection. Yeah. I think you'll have to leave and come back. But Abhijit, I mean, Suhail's raising this point that keep the politics away from it. But the politics is very much a part of it. It is
See,
the
Suhail
those
is right.
accused.
Suhail is right in a sense. It's not a binary, but it's gone beyond politics. It is now a dhanda, it is a campaign of hate, which is not electoral in nature because it's transcended now into the mindset. Remember, in any political party, 99.99% of the people are sheep. You only have 0.1% that are actual rottweilers, not rottweilers, I get German shepherd dogs or whatever, that control the sheep and put them, corral them and put them into the herd and things like that. Now, when you have people constantly telling you that these people are terrorists, they're ISIS, they're hate mongers and things like that, you're essentially creating a sort of normalization of this.
Absolutely.
Remember how Kamlesh Tiwari was killed,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And nobody even wanted to cover it. There was this woman who is now in Hindustan Times, Sunetra Chaudhary or whatever, who was like, who is Kamlesh Tiwari? Okay, so they play these games a lot. They pretend they are not responsible. Mind you, these are the same people who claim causality, that the BJP's campaign promises to protect cows leads to cow lynching. But their constant demonization of RSS workers is not leading to the killing of RSS workers. Okay, so this is now become pathological. I think you need some kind of laws. Now, the problem here is, I don't know what contours the law can take, because there are very fundamental cramping of free speech. Right? The problem, the dichotomy in India has always been that, a Western standard of free speech, like the American Brandenburg standard of free speech, the Brandenburg Judgment, so-called standard of free speech, is fine for a developed country like America, where, the state has the monopoly on, well, kind of has a monopoly on, used to have a monopoly on violence and things like that. But in India, where you're under-policed, where anybody can get away with anything, with state ministers coming out and accusing police officials of God knows what not under the sun, some police officials being convicted and running away to God knows where, New Zealand or Russia or wherever, others involved in planting bombs outside an industrialist's house and things like that. Can you actually trust the police out here? The police is a joke, the government is a joke, the Supreme Court is a joke, literally every institution of the state is a joke. How this country needs its people protected against its own governments, plural.
Yeah. Especially, because I'm focused on Kerala because I follow that very closely. That kind of violence has had a legacy. It's been around for a long time. The political violence. This today in particular comes as a real shock, because this person was going about his life. Nothing. This was very well planned. It was something executed in public daylight. Basically what the pattern is, and you're absolutely right. This sort of demonizing of Hindutva constantly is going to have consequences, and these consequences are there for everyone to see. I think Ghulam Nabi Azad struck a responsible tone in the Congress party when he responded to that comment made by Salman Khurshid. However, Rahul Gandhi jumped up and came out and went ahead and supported this sort of hate speech, really, frankly. Suhail, Rahul Gandhi keeps saying that this is a battle of ideologies, right? And when somebody says it's a battle of ideology, that means you have one way of thinking, one worldview, versus another way of thinking and another worldview, right? So you can argue on those aspects of ideology. Why would you fuel hate against another ideology to the extent that it spills over to this kind of violence?
I've always told you Rahul Gandhi is intellectually innocent. You people give him too much of credit. He's an absolute dolt. He's an irresponsible politician. He's a human being who has lost the nerve to be a responsible politician in responsible politics in India. His behavior is abominable as far as this is concerned. If he has any shame and any decency, he should be apologetic about any murder that happens in this country. But you know what? They didn't even apologize for the Sikh massacre. That's his legacy. That's his goddamn pedigree. I'm sorry for getting upset. These are the people in power. These are people you trust. These are people who say grand old party. He's a bloody shame to that party. And you know why? Because if I were Rahul Gandhi, I would condemn every murder, because every Indian is involved in some form or the other, and every Indian's family is grieving. To make this into a Congress versus BJP issue and to then ascribe it to ideology, you tell me which ideology tells you to murder someone and hack them to death? Which ideology tells you? This shameless, abominable stupid logic of this man. I'm amazed that the Congress still tolerates this absolute buffoon who has no sense of responsibility. I couldn't be bothered what he does to the Congress party. They can go to hell for all I care. But what I'm upset about is this man is in politics in India. Some people listen to him. What kind of role model are you if you say that, oh, these murders are happening because of ideological differences? Should that be the yardstick for ideology to prevail, one ideology over the other? That if I don't agree with Advaita Kala, I should come and kill her? Is this what you want India to be? And I don't care which party does it. Any party that does it must be condemned. Any individual who talks about this must be condemned. For Rahul Gandhi to say this, if he has, as you've told me, to my mind is really, really shocking. I'm disappointed. I was always disappointed in the man's intellect. I'm now disappointed in the man's integrity.
No, he's not commented. Let me clarify. He has not commented on this particular killing. In fact, he never acknowledges any killing of RSS workers. Let's just be very clear about that. He never does. However, he has said in the past that in India now, where India is today, it is a battle of ideologies. So my point really, Abhijit, and you can come in here, is that when it's
a battle of ideology.
Right. But when it's a battle of
Advaita, you made it out to seem as if the comment was contextual to murders.
No,
of course, it's a matter of ideologies.
I didn't do that at all. I was talking about the fact that
I still stand by what I've said.
Okay, you said what you said. Okay, Abhijit, let me again ask you that very same question, and that is that when it's a battle of ideologies, then fight it with words, fight it with ideas. Why perpetuate hate, which can spill over into this kind of violence where a young father out on the road with his wife is brutally killed with more than 50 stab wounds to him? I mean, that's not killing somebody. That's a hate crime. That quantifies the hate and the brutality associated with this killing. So why feed that hate by using equivalence between, Hindutva and ISIS? Look at what ISIS does. How can you even equate the two?
So, see, this is where I disagree with Suhel. He's not a dolt. He's a vicious sociopath. Okay, you look at his statements, the carefully calibrated way in which he's constantly spewing hate. You go look at the Instagram handle of Priyanka Gandhi, which is apparently run by her son. Full of just bile and hate and things like that. How many episodes where you've seen both brother and sister go snarky and below the belt? Or, giggle. Sometimes they don't say it themselves. They giggle at what somebody else says. Do you remember in 2019 how that gathering of school kids, that chorus of school kids was made to chant, Neem ka patta kadwa hai, Modi sala bhadwa hai, and she was like, oh, no. But there was a before that. There was a very visible, audible giggle. Right? This is a culture that is encouraged. Because remember, you look at what happened with Sidhu and Amrinder Singh in Punjab. What did Sidhu bring to the table? Zilch. His only thing was, this ass licking and kowtowing to the family. That was it. Nothing, no other proven record. So what happens here is that the pathologies of this family, they only appoint people and empower people who keep catering to their pathologies. And so this has kind of become one of those vicious cycles where, the desperation of these two, because they're losing ground, going on losing ground, losing more and more and more ground. And they seem to be able to do nothing about it. And the people around them are exclusively chosen to say, sir, we didn't lose Kerala because of you, sir. You are God. Shashi Tharoor lost Kerala for us. No, sir, we didn't lose UP because of you. We lost it because of, XYZ. Right? So the more desperate these two get, the more vicious the entire cycle of invective against the RSS, against Hindutva and things like that gets. And mind you, all of this is because, remember, silence is acquiescence. Okay, and the very fact that these so-called intellectuals, Ram Guha, Rana Ayub, whatever, refuse to even acknowledge these things tells you where they are. Because make no mistake, they run, they know exactly what is happening. It's called a referral loop. Okay, they do this to right-wing scholars where they try to exclude them from ever being referred to or anything like that. Yeah. So they won't even acknowledge them. Here, what they do is by lacking acknowledgement of what is happening, they are trying to give an impression that there is no violence. It is all only Hindutva violence against other people. And there is absolutely no violence. Everybody else is peaceful in Gandhi's little Kumbaya land.
And the violence against the RSS, of course, Kerala is there, but it's spread all over the country and it's very targeted killings. And if anybody from any organization had been killed in that number, and let me just take the 2014 period onwards, since Modi has come to power, and it is assumed that the RSS is kind of one of his very strong sort of pillars during his campaign and things like that. If you look from 2014 to now, the targeted killing of RSS workers in Punjab, in West Bengal, in Bihar, in Karnataka, in Kerala, in Tamil Nadu has just gone on and on and on. And if anybody else from any other organization was targeted in this way, there would have been a complete kind of narrative built around the fact that this was happening.
See, I just want to say a couple of things which may not be very palatable. This country has been destroyed by the pretentious so-called liberals who use the word secularism to justify attacks against any one religion, whether it's Hinduism or whether it's Hindus or Muslims or Christians. Suddenly the bloody word secularism will pop up. So they are the biggest scoundrels that need to be identified. Number two, which liberal criticized Mamata Banerjee for the heinous and reprehensible way in which the government turned a blind eye towards the killing of people? To hell with whether they were BJP people or not. They were Indians. They were citizens of the state of West Bengal. Did the chief minister say anything? No. But you will come quickly and blame Narendra Modi for what happened in Godhra. The hypocrisy is apparent. Now, if you say that during Godhra, Modi turned a blind eye and did not allow the state machinery to interfere, you could say the same thing to Mamata Banerjee, but you won't. You know why? Because it's fashionable in this country. It's fashionable to adopt a view that makes you popular with the goddamn New York Times, the Washington Post, and all those jokers who invite you on junkets across the world. That's the problem. And Advaita, I keep saying, secularism is the garb under which people have become complicit in allowing criminality in India to flourish. Mark my words. It is a cover. It's a garb. I'm sorry to sound so upset. I normally am not. But this has been irritating me from time immemorial. The double standards of the so-called intellectuals is appalling to say the least. It shows you as to what their actual breeding is. आप मेरे को बोलिए, आपकी इंसानियत कहाँ है? Does insaniyat allow you to condone what's happening? And I frankly don't give a damn which party who belongs to, but if they are murdered, and if they are murdered, whether Rahul Gandhi thinks for ideology, for whatever the hell, you have no right to be killed. And if you are, and your family is grieving, your family has every right to justice. Today you're saying Mamta will be an opposition, is the face of an opposition. What kind of face? With hands soaking in blood? With appeasement being the yardstick? And I'm not even interested in getting into this Hinduism debate. It's a debate which these jokers can continue ad nauseum. My concern is how long will India and the Indian judicial system, and most importantly, the Indian people, how long will we be mute spectators to the travesty of justice, which is both hypocritical and partial? You know, you're so one-sided in your support that it is appalling, to say the least.
Absolutely. And Suhel, had these killings happened in any other state, and you'll again say, don't bring politics into it, but it's a fact. If this had happened in a BJP ruled state, what is happening in Bengal, say for a moment, Shivraj Chauhan had won the election, and BJP workers had gone on a rampage like this, and people had been raped and killed, you please tell me, hand on your heart, what the reaction would have been. The same rights.
They would have said Narendra Modi version 2.0. They would have said Narendra Modi version 2.0. They would have said, Rajiv Gandhi version 2.0. But they would have never mentioned Mamta. They would have never mentioned the Gandhis in that sense. So point I'm making is the hypocrisy we all know. We all know the hypocrisy. Jagdish Titler, permanent invitee. Don't we all know what happened? So, let's not go there. I'm saying the time has come for these people to be called out, just like they call out people when they choose to. And at times without any substance, without any logic. So you have to get into that. And the other thing is, the right wing must understand that they need to stop playing this goddamn victim card. Oh, we are right wing. Oh, we're getting screwed by the left. We are right wing. Oh, the left liberals are screwing us. Screw them back. As simple. Mahatma Gandhi doesn't need to be followed in everything in life. Someone slaps you on one side, you don't say, okay, I'll slap me on the other. Bullshit. You go and give him one tight whack. But by whining, by complaining, nothing happens. And I'm telling you, Advaita, over and over again, you're setting an example where people will be brazen enough to do this in broad daylight. You're creating the Chambal Valley across your metropolises if you continue to do this. That's what my worry is. Now, you might say, oh, but Suhel, what we can't attack people back and all. I'm not saying that. What did KPS Gill do? You kill one cop, he would kill 20 terrorists. Now, who got upset? The people who got upset were these so-called human rights. Does the policeman not have human rights?
Yeah.
Does the family not have human rights? Does Ashwini Minna's father who died, Punjab case, he was assassinated, where were his human rights? It's all right. If it's your rights, I don't be bothered. But if it's my rights, I have to be bothered. And I'll give you one last point. Education is not the arbiter of good judgment or of wisdom. Remember that. Because Kerala, in terms of literacy, has the highest literacy. Bengal is considered to be this intellectual state. Babaji ka thullu yaar, where is this intellectualism? Where is it? So, there are bad and rotten apples. So, to castigate an entire state will also not be right. I know many people in Bengal are deeply upset with Mamta Banerjee, but they can't say it. One Jadavpur University professor said it, he was in jail. And this is the same Mamta Banerjee who espouses virtues of democracy. It's all bullshit. I'm so frigging angry that even speaking in civil English is upsetting me right now. So I must stop and yield the floor to my good friend Abhijit.
So look, I'm 100% with Suhel in this, except here I'm blaming the BJP. Okay, they have the central government. What the hell are you doing?
You said there was a lot.
ठीक है, दिल्ली में कुछ नहीं करते हो. Not on one occasion, on two occasions you've not done anything. Okay, you remind me of that Dhritarashtra in the original Mahabharata, Doordarshan Mahabharata. मैं क्या करूं संजया, मैं क्या करूं? That is what is happening out here, and we are meant to believe that this is 10-dimensional chess. You look at all these BJP tattoos on Twitter. What do they keep doing? You attack Narendra Modi, they're so upset with you. Oh my God, you've said this about Narendra Modi. While he sits and plays the fiddle or gives his speeches on Vishwa Guru and whatnot, while his own people are getting killed. Nothing. Only Twitter outrage. What did they do? Nothing. Have they even done a simple statistical exercise like compiling the total number of workers killed and putting it out there? They can't even do that.
It's happened in Kerala. In Kerala, it has been done. We've done it, and in West Bengal also there has been a tabulation. But unfortunately, in West
There
Bengal,
has been no methodology ascribed to it.
No,
Okay,
and
there has
yesterday
been,
someone was
there has
killed in
been-
West Bengal.
No. There has been no methodology ascribed to it. There has been no publicity given to it. Absolutely nothing. हम छुप छुप के जो अंदर करना है करेंगे. Okay, the rest of it is just Twitter outrage and nothing else. Okay, I understand you can't take on a government. It will seem like sour grapes that if you take on a government who has just won, crushed you with a 2/3 majority, come back with an even bigger majority. What is Kerala? How long is this going to continue? Apparently, we care more about BJP workers than the BJP leadership cares about its own people. Now, what do you do in circumstances like this? See, I'm getting fed up of blaming the Congress and the CPI for this. At what point of time are the BJP people going to turn around and hold their own leadership here to account? How many need to get killed? Hundreds got killed killed or raped in Bengal. What happened? The same guy, the same candidate in Bengal who lost his seat, who had turned off his phone for 3 days so that he wouldn't have to respond to all his desperate party workers' calls for help, is back again. Re-enthroned. No consequences. They actually reward people who abandon their party workers and run away. This is the kind of party we are talking about. The only thing that this entire BJP wants is for Modi to get re-elected. Doesn't matter how many people die in the process. You are all disposable commodities, Modi is not. That is the message that they're sending out. Okay, and remember, mind you, all of you, me, Suhel, even somebody as completely neutral as Suhel. Okay, Times Now, Arnab, they will all be in jail within the very first week of the Congress taking over. I'm giving you a guarantee. Keep this snippet for all your viewers. Please record this particular snippet. Yeah. Keep it. Kahali won't sue you for copyright violation if you keep this particular snippet. And play it back. I'm giving you a guarantee.
Yes.
Okay. And mind you, it will not. Remember, the New York Times, when workers were getting killed in Bengal, they give column space to somebody to say, I defeated Narendra Modi. I know how to defeat him. And here's how I did it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so that's the thing, right? You have this kind of bloodletting that's going on in West Bengal, and these same people are given platforms by the New York Times to talk about Mamta being the next coming, and the one here, the woman who will overpower the man. I'm sorry, it isn't about gender, it isn't about any of those things. It's a fact that your cadre is on a rampage. Until yesterday, there was a man who was lying on a thela who had been murdered in
But,
Bengal.
but
It's
see,
still going on.
look,
When were
look,
the
it doesn't
elections?
make a difference. Look at the clowns running the press department out of the PMO. अरे
You know,
नैरेटिव बस्टिंग तो क्या, वो तो कुछ अंग्रेजी समझ भी नहीं सकते हैं. My
you see,
driver speaks better English than all the PMO press managers.
No, I mean, let's not get personal. Let them,
No,
I
but
mean,
it's
they
the truth. I'm sorry,
just
it is the truth. A man has been killed, they've done nothing. It is bloody personal. What do you mean, let's not get personal?
see the point here, Advaita, is that you're not sending a signal of toughness. You're not sending a signal of being in charge or being in control. Number two, which is even more worrying, is that you're not even sending a signal of empathy. What happened post Bengal, to my mind, was absolutely reprehensible and would have been taken cognizance of by anyone. But no one took
yeah.
any cognizance. So you allowed people to do what they want. And today you've come to such a state that everything goes. Anyone can do what they want.
No, and we have, I mean, people talk about institutions and things like that. I remember in Kerala a couple of years ago, there was a child, a Bal Swayam Sevak. These are the kids who go to Shakhas, who was welted with a belt, and knife was taken to scar his back, and he was in a hospital, and those photographs were there, and I mean, I was like, the Child Rights Commission, State Child Rights Commission, National Child Rights Commission, what is going on? And then when I tweeted something about that child, they said, oh, don't identify him because those go against his child rights. And I was like, seriously, getting welted in the back because your ideology is Hindutva, someone taking a knife to your back and carving into it, that's not against child rights. But the fact that you may tweet a photograph in which his profile or his face may be seen, that is against child rights. So this is the kind of idiotic duplicity and political correctness that exists when it comes to this kind of violence.
But see, Abhijit alluded to it. The point is that if the top doesn't show courage and doesn't show conviction and doesn't execute that courage or conviction through action, you're emboldening an entire swath of people because they will then say, oh, fine, let's do it and let's get away with it. Exactly what's happening. Electoral violence in India was confined to one or two states and one or two instances. Today, it's a plague. And that's my worry. This plague is going to engulf us all, irrespective of which party, what caste, what community, what religion you come from. Then what will you do? Then what will the courts do? How will you address the wrongs that have already been committed? And you will embolden cadres to use this rather than electoral politics or developmental politics to curry favor. That's my worry.
And it's a completely legitimate worry because this has been normalized and mainstream to such an extent wherein it happens and the day carries on. And the reason why I highlighted that killing in Bengal from yesterday was that it's been so many months since the assembly elections, and these kind of killings are still going on and on and on. But I almost feel that this kind of narrative setting that happens comfortably out of Lachin's Delhi, wherein these ideologies are decried and sort of demonized, and it's very comfortable for those people in power, out of power, for the people sitting in the center to not care or to think that this is a debate of ideas and of conversations and primetime news TV. I've spent time in Kannur. I've seen how dangerous it is to even be out on the road if you're identified with the Hindutva ideology. I've seen what it's like over there, and I've seen leaders here with their Z plus security not give a damn about those people who are being
But
killed
that's the,
like cannon fodder. So I've
but that's
seen it
the
with my own
strategy.
eyes.
But that's their strategy. As Abhijit said, their strategy is to make any right wing voice seem communal, irrelevant, and unintellectual. So, if you are that voice, you would be cast in that silo. Now, someone asked a question about Lamakne, Chanak, Macaulay, Hastings. Yes, these were names. These are names of houses. But you're not going to change the narrative of India by saying, "Oh, from tomorrow I will have Gandhi, Tagore, and Pant." What do they stand for? And what does our political dispensation currently, our present political dispensation stand for? And my belief is that we are going down a never ending and an always narrowing chute of hatred, of murder, of killing. And this is not going to stop with one death. We have seen 3 months ago, it happened in Bengal, almost in a spate. You're going to see this continuously. Our elections will no longer be about the ballot, they'll be about the blood. Do we want that kind of democracy, which is soaked in blood? Do we? Do we want that kind of politics where it's not politics but punishment that is the leitmotif of society? Those are questions that people need to ask, irrespective of which side of the political spectrum they are.
I mean, this has been a very powerful discussion, and really, I mean, every time a killing like this happens, I just feel completely lost, because there isn't anything that one can do apart from sit over here and have a conversation about it. Trust me, I mean, there's so many doors to knock, and they have been knocked, and this just keeps happening on and on and on. And just the irresponsibility of senior leadership when it comes to fueling hate is something that I cannot wrap my head around. And Suhel, you couldn't have said it better, that this is an Indian life lost. So please don't look at it from the prism of ideology or who you support or who you're against, but really the fact that a young father with a 1-year-old daughter, no, it doesn't exist anymore because some people just didn't like what he thought or what his thought process was.
Yeah.
And any last comments, and then we'll wrap it up.
Oh, I think, as Abhijit said, and I just want to end by what I said before, that every life matters. The people who knelt for black lives should have knelt for Indian lives. Every life matters. Every Indian is important. It's not what I think, it's what I do. And if I do something that is undemocratic, reprehensible, I should be, you cannot cover me by saying, "Oh, your ideology is Hindutva and that's why you're being killed." Look at the irony. The man who said, "Into that heaven of freedom, let my country, move, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high." How must Tagore feel about today's Bengal? How would he feel? And that's the sadness that we are engulfed with.
Yeah. And Abhijit, to
My
you.
only closing comment I have is when you say Achhe Din Aayenge. Achhe Din has only one part. That is security. Economic growth happens when you have security. There is a reason that, Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati, it's like dipping your paintbrush in a pot of red paint and drawing a light on white canvas. It goes from red to pink to white. Okay? Durga, security. Uske baad aata hai wealth. And from wealth, you get education, learning, and wisdom. That is Saraswati. These people don't get that linkage. See, I don't want to fix what I cannot fix. I want to fix my own house first. And that is the Hindu way. You look within, see what you can fix. The Congress and CPI are now beyond redemption. But look within and see what you can correct within. That is the only thing you can do right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you have to step it up when it comes to human rights, wherein these murders that happen in broad daylight happen and there are no consequences, and when the other side is literally celebrating these people as opposed to not even ignoring what's happening, they're celebrating the perpetuators of these kind of atrocities. It's really a shocking situation. I remember during the Kannur time, one journalist on the political beat actually said tongue in cheek to someone that I knew that what's she getting so hyper about? At least the guys in Kerala are doing something and getting rid of these chaps. So that's the kind of attitude that exists and is
No,
prevalent
but
across.
there's that old saying now. When they came for them, you did nothing, and then they came for you. They'll come for you.
They will.
No one will be immune or insular to that extent where they will not come for you. I think what you've done, Advaita, is remarkable. And I'm saying this with all due respect. I'm glad we are having this discussion. We need to raise and then bury this false narrative and ghost of what is secular and what is communal, of what is Hindu and what is Muslim. We are slowly moving away from being Indian. And the day we move away from being Indian, we are dead, because there will be nothing that is sacrosanct. We can pitch one holy book against the other, but we only have one constitution. So the choice you have to make is which book will guide you legally and from citizenship point of view. That's my worry. And what should have guided people in government and in the justice system was our constitution, and not, as Rahul Gandhi or whoever would say, oh, ideology. If ideologies ran countries, ISIS would be the biggest country in the world. That's the tragedy.
Bingo.
So well said. So well said. Well, thank you both of you for
On that
joining
note,
me. I remember when this political violence or these brutal killings on the streets used to happen in Kerala 7 years ago. It was hard to even get a platform to talk about them. And I'm just so grateful that both of you joined me today, because every time somebody is killed like this, I personally take it as a failing, and because one has tried to highlight it from every rooftop, every corner that is possible. And I really appreciate the two of you who are not in active politics, and especially Suhel, who's not identified with any party or any of ideology, to come in and really talk so passionately about this killing, because trust me, it is impossible to get people to say something.
but I'll tell you, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to tell people I'm from Bengal today. I used to be very proud to tell people I'm from Bengal. I would wear my being from Calcutta as a badge of honor. Today it's a badge of shame. Today it's a badge of complicity. It's a badge of compromise, and it's a badge of concession. When you have complicity, compromise, and concession, then you have nothing in your soul which can satisfy you. Because then what you're doing is you're playing the game as the game should be played. But this game is a dangerous game. It's a game which has no winning and no winners. That's what people who are fostering, festering, playing this game need to recognize, and the sooner the better. No country, no family, no community should lose anyone that they love or are precious to them.
Absolutely.
Every death matters. Forget every life. Every death should matter. That's when we'll become a remarkable country. The problem is we're bloody kneeling for every life that matters. When you start kneeling and seeking forgiveness for every death you've caused, then you'll become the society that you need to become.
Yep. Okay, and thank you to our viewers for joining. Please go ahead and please do share this discussion. I think it's really important that we highlight this and get the word out about these killings, because there is a concerted effort to ignore them, to clamp down of them, to act like they don't exist. I'm taken back to the first person that I met because of his death, Sujit. And the fact was that they took away his life, but they took away his death as well by not talking about it. So don't let that happen to Sanjith or to anybody else. Let them not take away their death along with their lives. Please talk about it. I beseech you. I request you. And I hope that you will spread the word about this violence and try and at least sum up some public support against this kind of behavior. And look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you. Stay safe.